look deep down there, it's looking fairly corroded. So far, all I've done is remove the hose from the air filter to the air flow meter, and also from the air intake to the air filter. I'm going to now remove the air flow meter in order to gain access. I'm going to remove that 10mm and that 10mm bolt. For my benefit, that was the top bolt, that was the bottom bolt. There's a bolt there that looks as if it's holding the airflow meter onto a bracket, and this one on the side is a 13mm bolt. So that came out quite easy. That's just telling me that setting the ignition timing on the distributor would be 10 degrees before top dead center at 900 RPM. The bottom part of that picture would indicate the rotor arm and the direction of movement. This wire here is attached to this, which leads to the distributor. It goes down around and then eventually comes to the distributor on that center one there. So I'm going to remove that so I can gain access. These are 13mm bolts, and I've soaked them with freeing oil, and they're now undoing reasonably well. Had to move one backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, but it is now starting to ease itself out. With some gentle tapping, I did manage to get that to release. I was a bit concerned that the corrosion that was taking place was maybe from a damaged main aluminium housing there, but it's coming from around the thermostat housing itself. It's not wanting to come out easily. I've tapped it and now I'm getting pliers on it because I can't move it with my hands at all. Nope. I did manage to prise it out eventually, pushed the bar through there and leave it. Fairly bad condition. But it was working. I didn't have any problems with overheating. And it doesn't look so horrendous in there. So I'll just need to clean all that up and get a new thermostat, and hopefully if I put it all back, and maybe I'll put some sealant around it as well, I can avoid any more water seeping out. I ended up buying this thermostat off eBay. I couldn't find a make that was recommended. It's virtually the same as the one I've taken out. It's 82 degrees C opening. And that's the one that I'm going to install. This rubber on here is hard as iron. I've cleaned up the housing, and there's a recess in which the thermostat sits, and with the rubber ring on, that's supposed to be enough. But on mine, I'm fairly certain in this area here there's been leakage, and all this on the top was suffering corrosion. So I think what I'm going to do is add a layer of RTV sealant around the outside. Thermostat sits inside. This plastic cap, which is the top of the housing for the thermostat, has that ridge there round, and that goes inside against the rubber and should form a seal. Looking at it closely, this area here looks to be slightly lower. I'm actually going to add some RTV to the outside area of that all the way round, and hopefully that will stop any future leaking past that seal. Although I'm advised if it's all as it should be and perfect, then it doesn't leak, but I don't think mine is perfect. The stuff I use is this Regan black high temperature sealant, and I've used that on exhaust manifolds as well. I've never had a problem with this stuff, but there are lots of proprietary brands out there. I am not saying anyone has to do this. This is not an instructional video. All I'm doing is showing you what I'm doing to resolve what I think I have as a problem, which is a leaking thermostat gasket area. My feeling is if I'd used a paper gasket, then it may have held this plastic outer part of the thermostat housing away from properly sealing the thermostat in the housing. If I use this RTV and do the bolts up properly, and I can't find any torque settings, but if I do it up until they're tight, then I'm sure that the RTV is going to squidge out, and all it will do is seal up any imperfections rather than keep the plastic housing away from sealing the rubber seal that's around the thermostat. The other thing I'll mention is I've also put some copperies on both of those bolts that I've put in. Whilst attending to the thermostat, I've removed this just because of getting the hoses out of the way. Inside there was this rusty old piece of wire wool, and there were various bits inside that in the oil filler cap. So I'm just going to replace that with a stainless steel one, as this is all falling to pieces. I ended up using two, which I scribbled together so that it made one lump, just because one was not enough. The idea behind it is it allows fumes from the engine to come out, enter the system and be recycled back into the firing chambers, but also allows oil to condense back out and go back into the system.